Hello, I'm football commentator Derek Ray, and you're listening to the FUT Weekly Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the FUT Weekly Podcast for this week. Who knows? 16 I'm going for. It's been Christmas, and so we haven't had a public pod for 2 weeks now. The last one would have been the Christmas quiz, which I hope you enjoyed. We've had an icon roundtable in the meantime for all of the patrons. But we're back with a public episode. It's a content episode, and there is a semi-change to our lineup today because Ben's not here. Like Ruben Amorim, he has been removed from his post, but unlike Ruben Amorim, he will be returning. So it's just two of us today, and joining me is the paragon of FUT knowledge. It is Nate, the FUT Accountant. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Josh. Thanks for having me on again. And yeah, the Amorim jokes, that's fresh still. So we're still figuring out what to think about that, aren't we?
Yeah, prep for this podcast was slightly interrupted by the news this morning that Ruben Amorim has been unceremoniously sacked. But they've told us it's for footballing reasons, but I seem to think it might be the fact that in a press conference he seemed to imply that the hierarchy didn't know what they were doing, which I don't think is going to go well for anybody. However, it has been Christmas and New Year. How has your Christmas and New Year been?
Honestly, really good. Yeah, a mixture of, busy with stuff to do, but also relaxing at the same time. So yeah, can't complain. Really, really good.
Very nice, very nice. Obviously, commiserations for the quiz result.
It was close.
Looking back on it, allowing Ben to choose club on the guess the player round actually decided who won the quiz in the end. So I feel slightly to blame for that. Maybe VAR needs to have a look, but it's a little too late now.
That was great.
So let's get into all things content. It's been kind of a weird few weeks. Winter Wildcards has finished. Time Warp is here.
Yeah.
Probably named because people want to time warp to Team of the Year, but there's plenty of stuff to talk about. As always, we will start off with our pound for pound powerhouse. And on the Icon Roundtable, we opened it up for anyone to suggest who they would like. And there were a few suggestions, starting off with 𝘃𝗲𝗰𝘀𝘀 Winter Wildcard, who I don't want to say was my choice, but it was my choice. And since nominating, he has gone up 16,000, 17,000 coins. So it felt like a good one at the time. So he's number one. We've also got 𝘵𝘚𝑡ooN's SBC, which again was, I think, 45k. I think FUT has maybe gone up a little bit. And she's now 60k. And then, left field, this is what happens when you open it up to the patrons, a 300k SBC in Ledley King. So which of those three wins pound for pound for Winter Wildcards?
Man, as a Spurs fan, I wanted to do Ledley King, but I couldn't because of the price. And I thought with the other center backs that are out, especially from Winter Wildcards, I just didn't feel like that was worth the value. But from those three, I'm going to have to go with Thuram. Maybe not as much of a FIFA legend this year, still very good. Of course, last year he had that player of the month that took over, but I still think he's a very good card in game. And Tiki-Taka Plus is really good. Plus, his other play styles are great. And 87 rated Evos soon, so I'd go with that card.
Yeah, as I said in the roundtable, I just think that 86, 86, 87, 87 at the back end of the card. I know we've got a lot of good cards because of Evos, but that is just so well-rounded for a base player that you'd be able to sell. If you're able to end up getting him in an Evo, I think maybe with a defensive playstyle plus, he would start looking absolutely ridiculous, maybe with 5-star weak foot as well. So, yeah, I don't think he's too bad at all, which brings us to pound for pound for this week. And I'm going to say we can't talk about evoed versions of the silver icons because I think they are the pound for pound of maybe the last month. So yeah, what would your suggestion be, Nate?
Well, my first thought was the evoed Pina, but that probably wouldn't be allowed either. Other than that, I'm probably going to go for the Ashley Young SBC, 86 rated rapid plus. And finally, I was saying this on some of my stuff in the weeks before Time Warp with Winter Wildcards, so many of the cheap SBCs were still like 50, 60, 70,000 coins. And I'm like, just let me do an 84 rated squad or like something for 30K. Like that's cheap. And he is 30K and he's got good play styles, a little bit of a confusing card of where do you play him, because finesse, tiki-taka, inventive, jockey, and technical, but rapid plus and his stats with the positions that he has, like for 30K, that's kind of a must complete, I think. And future Evos, and even right now for like a fun squad, good card.
Yeah, his stat distribution definitely makes him feel like more of an attacker.
Yeah,
because his worst stat is defending. He's going to be one of those where I think Evos will probably be quite kind to him because he's got such a good base already. You can kind of take him whichever way you want. I was just shocked he was still playing professional football. I thought he'd retired. I didn't realize he'd gone to Ipswich. And you're absolutely right on the SBC, because it's an 81 rated squad, an 82 rated squad, an 82 with an inform, and an 83.
Yeah, it's cheap.
I mean, how much of that fodder is currently swilling around most people's, duplicates at this point? It's a very cheap SBC. I think it's been priced about right, and is probably where you'd want to see most of those kind of low-level SBC players. So a decent suggestion there. I'm going to go... I've been torn between a few players. Obviously, there are players who have my heart, like Juan Mata. I'm also like a tiki-taka fiend.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna go slightly like left field, and I'm gonna go with Fishlock because I think the like well-rounded players are obviously the thing that we're seeing a lot from Evos, but I also think that really Evos right now, you kind of want to split them and get them at the extremity. So getting your strikers up to scratch, getting your wide players, your defenders up to scratch. I actually think midfielders, we're always going to be able to upgrade all the stats on a card. So I'm looking for like cheap players in the midfield. I'm also looking at like links from an NWSL perspective. And also I'm half Welsh. And so it's just nice to have like a Welsh player who looks really good.
Sure.
And Incisive Plus, I think, is a really good playstyle. She's got base tiki-taka. I've talked about the virtues of technical from midfield. First touch, I think, is becoming more of a respected playstyle. She's got low driven and finesse, so for more of those like attacking moments, especially if you're playing in like the 4-5-1 still, I just think she's very, very well-rounded. I think it's, from a pound-for-pound perspective, we're at that point where it is difficult to kind of suggest a player who's going to walk into people's first team for very cheap. But I think for someone who couldn't, obviously is going to get chemistry because of the chemistry time what players have, the links that she could give to some NWSL players, I think she's just a slightly fun player. And there's something about the white shirt and the white hair that just works really well on a card. I can't put my finger on it.
And that's just one of those that would like surprise you potentially too. Like I think I even heard a couple people saying on a Friday night after the promo dropped, like, yo, this Fishlock card is pretty cracked because of her play styles and 4-star, and she's 5'2", 157 centimeters. So left stick is going to be great.
Yeah, especially with 89 as like the base stat for her dribbling. Like she's got 91 balance in there, 93 ball control. Like she moves really, really well. And even her passing stats, it's only 87, but 95 vision, 93 short passing. She's just so well-rounded from a stats perspective, and she's got good play styles. I think if you were trying to build a midfield card from scratch, there's not much there that you would want to add. Maybe a defensive play style, but again, I'm more looking at her as more of like an attacking midfield-minded player rather than the defensive. Like maybe you'd want an intercept in there. But hey, 88 rated. Who knows where Evos are in a few weeks' time?
True.
Which I feel like we kind of have to say for every player. So before we maybe kind of do a moratorium on what we thought about Winter Wildcards, it is worth talking about Time Warp, which is the promo we've got now, and we're probably going to have for 2 weeks, seemingly taking us up to Team of the Year. But I suppose we'll see. We might have a warm-up week. What's your feeling on the promo as a whole?
I think that the idea behind it is cool. Like the flashback dynamics might be my favorite part of the whole thing. And just bringing back some of the names that we have used in previous FIFAs that are still playing in World Football is cool. Like, again, I think the concept and the idea is cool. The execution, to be determined. Like what are we going to get between Winter Wildcards and Team of the Year that's really going to, knock it out of the park? I don't think anything. We didn't have high expectations for this, but I think some of the leaks for the player SBCs, we had some expectations of who was going to drop the first week, and that didn't necessarily happen. So maybe the second week will bring some bigger and better names with that. I don't know. I mean, we could talk about the Evos. There's been some great things in there. That's kind of keeping us busy. The bronze live event, okay. Like there's some positives, but for the most part, it's kind of just a ho-hum promo.
Yeah, I think those promos that are between the kind of tentpole moments are always going to struggle. We spoke about, could you name the promos between Black Friday and Winter Wildcards from, I don't know, last year, this year? I think we'd maybe have to think about it for a little while. So I think they'll always struggle. I like that they've gone for something a little different with this. As you say, the kind of idea of a flashback promo almost, which is what this is. The dynamics with the kind of old pictures of them with shirts that have been digitally removed of anything that might tell you who they played for other than the colors. I'm enjoying that return of some of the names. As you say, though, I think they could have done a little bit more with some of it. I think maybe the interesting thing with these cards specifically is the fact that they are another card with different chemistry. And it's the positional excellence chemistry style, which effectively is chemistry style. You can't really say that, can you? Chemistry breaker? Maybe that's what we'll go for. Yeah. Essentially, they get full chemistry and then give normal chemistry. So I kind of like it. I think, obviously, for Evos, we've had a lot of those kind of designs that you can unlock through objectives that have broken chem, whether that be World Tour, the Positional Excellence Evo itself. We've had some others as well that are failing me at the moment. Cornerstones, that we've had a few of those. And you can unlock 2 of these. Do you think we're far away from them just going, hey, listen, chemistry, don't worry about it anymore?
Yeah, that might be a part of the conversation now. Like with, what is this, our 5th or 6th different card design that gives different chemistry? It's got to be up there. So like that is just kind of wild. And it does make sense for this promo, because how are you going to link Teemu Pukki in the Finnish league without having the full chem on the card to begin with? Like that'd be really tough. And other than this chemistry, some of the cards wouldn't really be that usable, or they'd be kind of impossible to link. So it makes sense, but also at the same time, it's a great point. Add it to the list of chem breaking cards, and when's chem just going to go away?
Yeah, especially, obviously we've got heroes and icons, but they're adding so many heroes and icons all the time that it feels like they're kind of becoming more commonplace than before. And there are obviously some chem breakers in there as well. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. Obviously the kind of highlight player is 𝘵ci. At 5 million coins, so I'll enjoy playing with him in the summer. And then even like a Luis Suarez for 700,000 coins. Is there anyone who's maybe not pound for pound, but is someone you'd advise people having a look at? Or with Team of the Year coming, are you kind of keeping your powder dry?
Yeah, definitely going to be not putting too many coins into these unless there's an Evo card that you'd be interested in. And I think some of the 87s in the team, if we do take that bump up to 87 Evos in the next couple of weeks, could just be worth maybe a club stock, if you will. There's a lot of like 11,000 coin discard price players in this team that, one Evo, we said about a lot of cards, but one Evo and they could go up. Well, especially with these cards having the boosted chemistry, like Smalling, if he goes down to like 14, 15K, I would absolutely stock one of those. Van Aanholt, I would stock one of those. Jose Fonte, some of those names that you might recognize and be a little more popular, I would absolutely just at least put one in the club and see what happens over the next couple of weeks, maybe even months, with an evolution.
Yeah, definitely. And especially with the chemistry the way it is, actually the kind of old style of doing things where it was like pick a special card from a big league, it's not as important anymore. You just need a card that has that potential to kind of have an insane Evo. I think maybe before we kind of move away from the actual team, the last thing to highlight, I think, with Time Warp would be we've got some more 2 Playstyle Plus players.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the same as Winter Wildcards, it's only the icons.
Yeah.
Do you think that's maybe... I'm getting more and more hopeful, and I need you to either tell me whether I should be or whether I'm getting ahead of myself, that Team of the Year might only be 2 Playstyle Plus. Do you think that's a possibility?
I think it might be, but I almost wonder too, is that going to make Team of the Years not feel as unique and special if they only have 2? But at the same time, again, we only have a handful of 2 Playstyle Plus icons at the moment. I'm so curious about that myself. It feels like it's a 50-50. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking they're leaning towards the 2 Playstyle Pluses. Like you are mentioning, it would seem maybe a little underwhelming for some cards, but maybe this year they go for higher ratings and less Playstyle Pluses, because we haven't had 98s or 99s in Team of the Year in a long time. I'm curious about that as well. That might be one of the biggest things that I'm looking forward to seeing during Team of the Year is what do they do with the Playstyle Pluses? And then that impacts Evos too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, and because I think when we saw the season pass for this current season,
yeah,
there are obviously the Evos in there that give 2 Playstyle Pluses, but we're not going to get there very soon. Like, I think we're still probably at least a week away from someone who plays all of the different modes to unlock all the SP from getting there.
Right.
And the season doesn't expire for another 3 weeks. So we're going to be well into Team of the Season at that point. So I really do think it's a possibility now that Team of the Year will just have 2 Playstyle Pluses. So, and as you say, I think it has big implications, obviously for Evos, but I think for the rest of the game, I think it was the thing that made last year's power curve feel so off was the fact we got to 3 Playstyle Pluses so quickly. And I think if they can long it out, yes, it may make Team of the Year cards not quite as good as they were last year, but I still think if they're 94, 5, 6 rated, I still think they're going to feel special without completely breaking the power curve. So, hey, fingers crossed for that one. But I think we're going to take a break there before we kind of go back we time warp back to Winter Wildcards a little bit and just talk about the end of Winter Wildcards, maybe do a quick recap of everything that happened there.
Hello, and in this break, a quick reminder that the pod is made possible by supporters. The pod didn't used to be weekly. Yes, FUT Weekly wasn't actually weekly for a time. And then someone suggested setting up the Patreon. And since then, the pod has been weekly. And in fact, it's been twice weekly because there is that supporter episode every single week. So if you'd like to catch that episode and keep the podcast going, it's just £3 a month to do so. And you get loads in return. And there are perks higher than that, including access to the Discord too. So if you're interested and would like to support the podcast, then head over and search Support FUT Weekly. Go to Patreon and it's very easy to sign up. If you are a supporter keeping the podcast going, then a huge thank you for doing so. And if you do consider supporting, a huge thank you too. Right, let's jump back into the pod.
And welcome back from the break. So, Winter Wildcards has finished. It was here for 2 weeks, but we got 3 squads-ish. And the final card was a Ashley Cole SBC. As a whole, compared to Winter Wildcards and FUTMISs of the past, how do you think this one went, Nate?
I dubbed it the best promo of the year, personally. With the Evos and with the SBCs that we got, there was some left to be desired in some different areas, but overall, I think it was a lot of content. It was content overload with the live events, tournaments that we had. Some of them really good, some of them just okay. The season pass being a part of that, I think kind of is included. That dropped on, was that Christmas Day, the best season pass of the year, I think you could say. The promo cards and packs, I didn't pack anything huge. I think the 𝘱𝘅𝘴𝘆 card from week 1 was my best pull over the entire promo, which I'm not necessarily complaining about, but I wouldn't say that the cards felt incredibly packable. I do know for sure that a lot of people ended up packing, those little bro or baby icons like the Cruyff, the Vieira, and the Henry for sure. that was a highlight, I think, especially because those cards are fitting Evos right now and will definitely very soon. So yeah, if I had to give it a rating out of 10, I think I'd give it like an 8.9. It was really good. It was a blast.
Wow, yeah, like I do think it was definitely good. As you say, maybe a bit of content overload. I think it's, obviously it was the first time we really got a solid menu grind as well. The League SBCs being very good, but also that kind of daily grind of going your bronzes and your silvers into the daily gold upgrade that could then go into the 80 plus picks, and then if you got enough rares you could then do the 85 picks, and those 85 picks seem to be where I saw most of the big cards being packed from. And if you really wanted to go full psychopath, you could then do the League SBCs 190,000 times, and the prices of Pro League and Liga NOS cards, or it's not called Liga NOS, Liga Portugal cards, have absolutely plummeted now that Winter Wildcards is over. They're back down to kind of like 500 coins, which is weird because you'd think this would be the period people were stacking packs now waiting for Team of the Year. But, maybe if you want to get ahead of the curve, that would be something worth doing. We had a lot of SBCs, and I think maybe from a kind of a perspective of looking at FUTmas and what people loved about that, it was the fact that you got these daily SBC players. That seems to be the thing that sticks in people's heads. So the fact that we got that again, almost, and they kind of gave us those 2-player SBCs every day. Is there anyone in there that you want to highlight, or maybe just a general thought on the kind of overall pricing of them?
Again, I do look at it. Some of them, like the cheap ones, were 50 to 67 thousand coins, and I think that was the thing for me. It was like, okay, some of these need to be like 30k, like the Ashley Young, but for most of them, I think they were priced well. I definitely did skip a good number of them, but like that Courtois, I mean, that you could argue that was the SBC of the promo. The Guerrero SBC from Bayern, he was very good as well, and still like 50,000 coins. But I mean, there's definitely a handful of the players that are coming out of those SBCs that we got that are going to be in people's teams for a while. And if not main team, then absolutely the gauntlet sides that we're rocking. So there was a lot of good value in those. Not all of them were great, but just to name those two, those were really solid.
Yeah, and I do wonder with some of those SBC players how much of the price of those will maybe be reflected in like future Evos. We know for a fact that EA plan content out over like longer periods of time than I think anyone really gives them credit for. Will they reward those people that were like, do you know what, I am going to just add this player into the club. I'm going to do this SBC just in case. As you say with that Guerrero, he's only 87 rated, really good stats. There's a lot of possibility, I think, that you'll see a few of those cards be the ones that are highlighted as this is going to work really well with this evolution. And we're already seeing it to some extent.
Yeah.
We got baby icons again. Are you a fan of the baby icon thing? Because I don't know. There's something about it that, whilst we've now got these silver icons, it feels a little weird.
That's fair. Yeah. No, that's maybe the thing that would make it feel a little weird this year is the fact that we have the silver icons. I guess thinking through that now. But like, especially for Ronaldinho, I know that may have already been talked about since it was at the very beginning of Winter Wildcards. But I mean, that could be the SBC of the promo too, just because it was a Ronaldinho card that you could craft, which was very easy to craft. Could fit evolutions, right? I know he's 88 rated, but it's a very unique type of Ronaldinho card with the Rapid Plus. I know the other baby icons were in packs, but I think I kind of am a fan of those because maybe it's just from previous years where those were the easiest to obtain icons before we had the silver icons. That'd be my way of thinking of it. And for potential Evos with how low rated they are. Of course, we remember last year, the Mia Hamm and the R9 baby versions from the same Winter Wildcards promo that at the end of the year were the most expensive cards for those players because they fit into Evo chains that went crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and it might even happen this year. We had, I think it was an SBC last year, Cruyff, wasn't it? That was lower rated.
Yeah, during Black Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, and he ended up being like, if you hadn't done him, the change that he went into by the end of the cycle, you'd really missed out. And his price has been interesting, I think, kind of after the promo is finished, it's really flittered around. Obviously, he came out, was quite expensive. I think people thought he was actually quite cheap initially at like under 1 million coins, and he's dropped even further to kind of 600k and has moved around that price. Is he someone, if you had a lot of coins, would you be maybe just throwing one in?
See, the issue with Cruyff, the Vieira, and the Henry, all three of them that I have, is there's so many people that have invested in these cards and are looking for the Evo to boost them. Specifically Cruyff, I feel like the first week of the promo was when the cards were most packable. I think Cruyff, a lot more people have him than maybe Vieira and Henry. So I'm a little bit worried about his supply in that regard. But I think everybody was buying him with the expectation that he would fit for some boosts in Evolution soon. So if he doesn't in the next couple of weeks, as we're getting close to Team of the Year, I would be a little worried that his price could drop back down more, like maybe dip below 600,000 coins, somewhere into that realm, kind of where he was when it was like his time in packs right around Christmas at his lowest point. So I really think it hinges on that, to be honest.
And it also takes one tweet from a leaker letting you know what a silver icon is in next season's silvers.
Correct.
That instantly crashes the investment price of any of them, I suppose, as well. Because, I mean, if you get a silver Henry or Vieira or even Cruyff in one of the next few seasons, I mean, I think people would take the lower rated version of the card. They'd prefer it, maybe even with a worse playstyle plus as well, just because you can do so much more with it with the base playstyles. Now we're into 2 playstyle pluses. You can kind of add what you want. I mean, that's what we've seen with Gullit as well, and we should probably get into that because I think that's been as much a part of Winter Wildcards as anything else. What does your Gullit look like?
Well, my Gullit is 74 rated and has 93 shooting, so I kind of went that route. I gave him the tiki-taka and the pinged. Instead, I wish I maybe would have waited for an intercept based playstyle, but I've used him in game, and it's just Gullit, so he can intercept the ball without the playstyle. Like, he's just tall and he's long and he's good at that. So he's wild. Like, I don't think I've ever used the Gullit that has 95 plus agility and balance. And I think that's part of what makes this card. I kind of use him as a cam, a little bit of a box to box. And I'm still in the Evo progress here with him. Mine is not super crazy yet. But he's incredible. He is so good.
It is just outrageous. Like the number of changes that you've seen. I think when he first came out, a lot of people had some season pass Evos from the season before or some objectives. I think there was a few from like Flash Rush objectives. I think in Unbreakable's promo that worked really well on him. And like then more Evos came out, and it's now the thing I think I see more on like Twitter and on any form of social media is this is what mine looks like. Maldini is the other one that I'm seeing a lot of people do. I've seen people turn Maldini into a decent looking striker. I mean, that's where we're at now with these kinds of Evos. Do you think it's a good thing for the game that we've kind of given people these, I say we, as if I am EA. That's going to do nothing for the accusations, is it? Do you think it's good that people can get these kind of icons for cheap and then build them up to, I mean, cards that genuinely are better than their base icons that are worth, millions of coins?
Yeah, I was just trying to think through this earlier in the week because, when EA dropped the silver icons idea, obviously they knew we would end up wanting to Evo them. We talked about that right away, and they had in the early game pitch notes that it was going to be, these cards would be evolvable after season 1. And still a lot of Evos are not, or like they're phasing out these icons. They don't fit, right? The requirements still say must not be a World Tour Silver Superstar icon. But man, I have to imagine that EA maybe is kicking themselves a little bit because with how crazy this Gullit is there a use dropping a Gullit SBC later on in the year? Like maybe at Team of the Year or during FUT birthday, if we had a Gullit icon SBC, how many people are going to need to do that with this card already in their club? That's kind of the main downside I think they would see from their standpoint, because then there would be less demand for that icon in the future for a piece of content. But I mean, at the same time, it's it's been the craziest part of the game, and we've enjoyed. I mean, how many times have we said Evos today?
I know.
Talking right now, like that's just the number one overarching thing of this game that has been the most exciting and most fun in the past month, I would say.
Yeah, and I think it's that point about can they bring out an SBC that people are going to be bothered to do? They kind of are now pigeonholed into icons that haven't had a World Tour silver icon yet,
Yeah.
because even the Hullets that you've seen, you said yours is 74 with 93 shooting.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's too high rated and he's not going to be able to go into anything else. And so,
Yeah.
you know, I've seen versions of him where he's 79, 80 rated, and he's like high 80s in pretty much every single stat. And there is going to be that thing of like, actually, by the time you release the next good version of Hullet, for him to fit in the power curve, the Evos are going to allow people to have taken their current 79 or 74 rated version and make them just as good, or to the point where it's not worth doing that next stage. I wonder if we're going to see Evo costs start increasing slightly, or beginning to need to pay for every Evo that we do, just because, I mean, we've also got 3 Evo slots at the moment. So it's not even like it's arduous to complete the Evos. We're being given gold and gold game modes left, right, and center. Like, it is absolutely, I mean, Evos, I don't know, other than when they were broken, I think in the first year, when you could kind of glitch them to get cards above the stats. I don't know that we've ever had more popularity with Evos than we have right now. And obviously you're going to have the lack of creativity that comes with that for a lot of people. And we've talked about Hullet because that's the one that most people are doing. You can do this with any card. You don't have to do it with these silver icons. It's just, if you could do it with Hullet, why wouldn't you, kind of thing. But I mean, I thought we'd see a bit of a row back on it. I thought we'd see them maybe pull back a little with the madness. But it's probably worth us talking about these new Evos we've seen that are different, I think, to anything we've really seen before. The most recent one being Peak Endurance, that are, I mean, when we say repeatable, these are massively repeatable Evos, where like 41 times plus 3 stamina up to a max of 90. And this is the first one that's had a limit put on where the stamina can get to. Do you think this is what Evos are now going to be, like individual in-game stats from here on out, or can this not really carry on?
I don't know how long it can carry on forever, because this is absolutely just fueling the fire of the crazy Evo madness at the moment. Being able to take stats to 99 and having like my 𝘂𝘂𝘂𝘂 go from 50 balance to mid 80s through the balancing act Evo, like that is wild. But it's, at the same time, we love it because it again gives you the customizability of putting a stat boost on a player with no cap, except for the stamina one, which still has a very high cap. 90 stamina that's great. Like it gives you that customizability. So I hope that there are Evos like this kind of, you know, put out every so often, but I can't imagine that it's going to be every week that we see Evos like this. You know, like what they're going to run out of stats eventually, like 99 finishing. That would almost be too good, right? So,
well,
I feel like there's got to be.
That was something I was going to ask. Do you think there's a reason they've picked these 3 specific stats? So far it's been balance, vision, and stamina. And I noticed on your Twitter account you were going into pro clubs to get the description of what these stats actually do. Do you think there's a reason they've chosen these 3?
I think so, because like they're important, but they're not like the most important. I say like the balance, for sure. We had to go into pro clubs, and I didn't realize that those stat explanations were there. Maybe they're not. They should be about the same in Ultimate Team as pro clubs, but just in general, it gives you a better idea of what the balance stat is. Like when you're boosting a stat up on a player that's not as well known for an individual stat, you want to know kind of what it is. So that was an interesting part about all of that. It made me think like shooting. Okay, we've had one for dribbling, for passing, and now for physical. What are we going to get for shooting? Like penalties or volleys? Like I'd take volleys. That's not a bad idea. 99 volleys on Hullet. Who says no?
I wonder if we get attack positioning.
That would be really good.
That would maybe be the one, because they've gone so heavy into everyone's getting a roll plus, and it like even that side of things. We were talking about chemistry not really being as important. The rolls now, every single card type seems to have like 100 pluses with it.
Yeah,
I wonder if that's the one, because those two things kind of work together as much as possible. So maybe they're just kind of like let's max out attack positioning, so that then whenever they do any changes in a future patch, they can just assume everybody has max positioning and a roll plus and can kind of edit based off of that. I do think it's probably just worth us reading out what you found in Pro Club. So for balance reduces your chance of stumbling and falling when challenged by an opponent. Now, I've had a conspiracy theory that players with high balance get fewer fouls for a few years. Because they don't fall over, and it feels like you have to fall over in order to get the foul, and there's no dive button.
Fair.
I will say the related play styles are really interesting to me, because the relating play styles to balance are anticipate, technical, enforcer, and footwork. So I'm now got to look at balance on my goalkeeper. Like, I don't know about that. And then the vision stat was vision raises your ability to play accurate and intricate through ball passes. Now, I just thought you had to double tap through ball in order to get more accurate and intricate through ball passes, because they seem pretty easy. But again, related playstyles, finesse shot.
Yeah.
What's that got to do with through ball passes? So I maybe would take the description of these stats with a slight pinch of salt, or at least the related playstyles. But I mean, I definitely think that it is worth, and I suppose this maybe points to something a bit more general about the game. What do stats do? It would be so much better for us to have a real breakdown of this is what each stat does relative, this is what 50 balance does, this is what 99 balance does, and actually show us, because we are so in the blind about what stats do. So I've been very thankful for your investigations into pro clubs.
Yeah, that actually brings me back to something that I learned this summer when we were at EA for the FC 26, first little hype event. And when we interviewed Jamie and got to do all of that, that was where we learned, and I learned through the test bed mode of the game, that like reactions are used in the breakdown of how a shot, when you're taking a shot with a player, like all the different types, except for one, I think, reactions are involved in a calculation as to how good the shot is, right? And all the different things that matter, like your aim and the stats and the breakdown of the stats, like reactions matter for shooting. So that makes me wonder, like, well, how much of a percentage of the vision stat is calculated into every through ball pass that you do? So boosting your vision stat up to 99 potentially on a player, I've actually noticed, because I put some of those on hold as well. And with his incisive plus, some of those like through balls that split the defenders, when you have a right mid or left mid running in behind, like some of those are at crazy angles with the very high vision. So I feel like that stat, I've seen the difference boosting with the playstyle, of course, that helps. But seeing the stat like actually make a difference in game from that one single stat boosting Evo, I think that's the one I've noticed the most. I haven't used Van de Ven enough, and he's not boosted up enough for me to know if the balancing act has really changed his card a whole lot with the boost to balance. But yeah, like that is just, for me personally, with this Evo and these Evos and last summer, just really made me think that there's a whole nother level of unknown that we still have. Like, when you press tackle, what's the percentage of the stand tackle stat? What's the percentage of defensive positioning? That's probably not involved in a tackle, but like reactions, is that involved? And I'm just curious. I would love to see a breakdown of all the different actions and what stats go into it. But that would be a very long pitch notes article.
But I think it would be something that, hardcores would definitely appreciate, and would give us more insight, more vision into what's actually happening in the game. And it's like, does vision affect crossing? Because surely that's the furthest you have to look when you're playing a ball, or like long balls. Like, I don't know. It is very interesting. And I think as a kind of test to see, well, what is vision doing? These are really interesting Evos. I will say, what these Evos don't allow you to do is wait until the end to see who you want to put them on, because you aren't going to get through it 30 times if you're waiting until the last moment to start applying them. So if you do want to use these, get in there early. And I mean, you can effectively max out 2 in-game stats on 4 or 5 of your Evo players, because you're not going to have 40 balance on all of your players. You're most likely going to have in that 60 to 80 range, some even a little bit higher. So you're only going to need to use a few to get them to 99. And if we keep getting them, I'm dread to think what we're going to see towards the end of the game, because maybe we've seen what the future is with these kind of limited now with stamina being to 90 and also having 41 refreshes.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know if there's any relevance to that being different, like 41 from 30, because it's also a +3 stamina. I'm curious to see. In terms of Evos in general, then, at the moment, is there anything outside of those smaller Evos that you'd want to highlight?
I think it would be interesting to highlight that you mentioned the paid Evos, and maybe that's EA would lean more into that, especially with the small stat boosting Evos, if they go for more of the popular stats, or kind of like the vision and the stuff like that. If they went for a finishing, like that one maybe would cost a little bit of coins, maybe like 2,000. That'd be a weird Evo, 2,000 coins for an Evo. But if it was 30 times repeatable for a big stat like finishing, or like acceleration or sprint speed, if they did something like that with a cap, I think there'd be some coins involved there. But we've actually had a decent amount of those little, 20K here, 30K here, a lot of those Evos recently. And I think EA's playing into the, they know that Evos are really good right now, and they're trying to also get the bag from that a little bit with the Winter Wildcards Evos that are kind of ending and expiring now, and then some of the time warp ones. So even, the 𝘬𝘅𝗻𝗀 Evo, plenty of time left. That one is a really solid Evo, 40,000 coins, cheap enough where you could do it. But also, if you're going to start doing all of your Evos with coins, you need to have a good chunk of coins. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose we've maybe, because they have done an acceleration/pace Evo,
right,
that's repeatable, but it's +1 overall, and it's the fresh legs one where 10,000 coins a time. You can do it 4 times, that's 40,000. You can put 7 acceleration and 7 sprint speed up to a maximum of 88 for a +1 overall. But you can't do it on a centre back, which is usually, because one of the things I thought when I saw this Evo is this would be good if you've got a player who's got a weird split, or one of those kind of big splits between acceleration and sprint speed. You can begin to even that out a little bit, which will help, I think, especially for centre backs, because they tend to be the ones that have 90 sprint speed and 70 acceleration. Nope, you can't do that on centre backs. But that is something I would look out for. Even in those players that have got mid-80s pace for you, if they've got a weird split, it's worth trying to bring them closer together, in my opinion. And the +1, I think, is probably worth it to do that. I would try and maybe avoid rapid base on players that aren't wingers and maybe forwards, just because you don't tend to sprint with the ball as much with players deeper than that. But definitely one of those that was, again, maybe a tip to what we'll see in the future with more repeatable Evos, 4 times, but giving a slightly bigger boost. And then the final thing probably to mention before we go into our final break and then talk about Team of the Year, I know already, is talk about the Bronze live event, which you kind of mentioned earlier. It's the Let's Do the Time Warp Again objective, and then it gives 3 Evos. 2 of them are unlocked by playing it, and one of them's unlocked as the group reward. Firstly, on the event itself, what's your experience been? Because I've seen some very negative reviews.
I'll be honest, it's just an AFK mode, to be honest. That's what it is. I've been doing that while we've been doing this podcast, actually.
You're one of them, Nate. No.
I know. I've played a couple of games. The first 2 games I started off with, and I was actually playing. And I think if you go in and you're trying to play, at least every other game, you'll find somebody who's like, yeah, you know what, I'll play too. Because it is unique, and it is kind of interesting to use bronze cards, even though in those first 2 games when I tried it, I was like, these cards are bad. They are really not very good. But, you know, your opponent's on that same level too, because they're all bronze cards. But yeah, the Evos are interesting because if your silver icons are still silver, they would fit them, which is where they might do the most benefit. There are a couple of decent packs in there too. There's an 85 times 2. So, I mean, it's worth to just chip away at. It's out for still, you know, it's out for 13 days in total, I think, for the whole Time War promo. It'll be out until Team of the Year, basically. So I think it's worth chipping away at, even if you don't see somebody who can fit into the Evos right away that would really interest you. But it's not anything crazy. And you made a good point about the wins maybe needing to be added back into these objectives, even if it's still a not super competitive mode.
Yeah, you know, the problem I think with this mode is because in order to complete the objective, you need to score 1 goal in 15 separate games. Mm-hmm. People are scoring a goal and then AFKing, like you're saying. So I wonder if we just need to have, because they've done it before, have complete 5 of 6, have that 5 of 6 maybe just be 2 Steven Nsonzis, because he is the reward for score 1 in 15 at Stoke. Hey, who knew Steven Nsonzi was back at Stoke?
Not me.
So maybe they just need like a win 5. And then that way you kind of just have it all capped off. If you want to get it done quickly, you can do the win 5. If you're struggling, you'll get Nsonzi eventually because you'll just play enough games where you score 1 goal in it. I do think there needs to be at least some reward for winning games. Otherwise, you do get this AFK mode. I will say as well, depending on your Evo preference, whether you do like to take those super low rated cards, whether you've still got any super low rated cards in the Evo squads that you're building, there's sometimes it's not worth completing objectives. So with this one, you could get to like just scoring 1 goal with a defender and assisting 1 goal in 5, getting 2 of the 3 Evos, and then not having to put yourself through the rest of it if you don't have time, because what you get is the Timeless Talent Evo, I think it is, which is a kind of decent upgrade to defensive stats. I'm not sure that's necessarily worth it. And unless you're a massive Steven Nsonzi fan or a Stoke fan, then like, I just don't know that that's necessarily going to be the best place worth your time. And because people aren't playing, it's not even that fun to play in the mode, you know, to kind of, let's use bronze cards and see how this is. So yeah, I think a good idea maybe lacked a little execution. The progressing along Evo is probably just worth highlighting before we go to the break, which I think is a pretty interesting Evo for starting with a very low rated player and giving them that big overall boost very quickly. Yeah. It's 2 semi-decent base play styles in Tiki Taka and Relentless. I know some people aren't a massive fan of Relentless, but if you're someone who second man presses, Relentless is big for that. I think it's quite a fun Evo to have in there in a bronze tournament, because I think the idea is, here, use a bronze team, and then if you really like one of those bronze players, whack this Evo on them and you can start bringing them up. So, you know, the fact it also gives the Time Warp card type, so they'll get full chemistry. I think there's some nice joined up thinking there. I just think the objective was badly done. That would be the way I would look at it. And I have taken my dongs into the bronze tournament, and they are doing the business. So that has been quite fun. That's where we're going to leave it for this part. But after the break, it's time. We've got to talk about it because we are less than 2 weeks away from Team of the Year. And welcome back from the break. In this final part, we've got to talk about it, Nate. Team of the Year is less than 2 weeks away. We don't have voting just yet. I think everyone could probably guess maybe 7 of the 11 players. I suppose the big question to start off with, are we going to see Messi and Ronaldo?
You know, last year we were a little unsure. We got Ronaldo and Messi had an honorable mentions, but this Time Warp promo has got Messi in Team 1 and Ronaldo in Team 2. So maybe it's here's a good card for Messi and Ronaldo because they won't get into Team of the Year promo. So maybe not.
Yeah, I think this is the guard has been passed. I don't know. Let's see who who comes in the nominations, because I have a feeling they'll try and sneak them in there one way or another.
Yeah.
But we shall see. But I think, your usual culprits, I think Haaland will probably be in there. The midfield will probably be interesting. How many PSG players get in after the year that they had? Does Hakimi get in at right back? Do Vitinha and João Neves both get in the midfield? So, I think there's some interesting questions maybe in those positions. Do you get Gabriel, Arsenal fans? Is he going to be in there after his ability to pass the ball was questioned against Bournemouth? He can put it in the back of the net, but passing it 15 yards, apparently a little too tough for him. But, Nate, I think maybe the first thing to do that's a pressing concern for people right now that they can do before we get to Team of the Year, what are you doing with coins? What are you doing with fodder at the moment? Is everything being saved?
Quick mention on Team of the Year players before I go into that. I am really, really hoping Harry Kane gets one again, because if there's any year, it would be this year. But it's going to be hard to compete with Mbappe, Lamine Yamal, and Haaland. But, man, he had a great 2025. So I'm going to be voting for him and hoping for him. But, yes, market-wise, fodder, I think, to start off with that, is more safe at the moment because people are still going to be doing SBCs during this promo. We just had an icon player pick release that is very expensive, but it's the first time where you have an icon player pick with base, Thunderstruck, and Unbreakables in it. So I think that has some intrigue. Still, we have some campaign mix picks that are out. We still could see Team of the Weeks be a part of the market that rises up depending on the certain SBCs that we get. Not that, people are going crazy for player SBCs right now and sending all their fodder into that. But just the dailies, like the 82 by 10 is still around for a while during Team of the Year. That's consistent Team of the Week demand. And some of the other daily upgrades that are there, like we've had an 85 plus pick or an 85 by 2 for now a good while. So I think Team of the Weeks are maybe a part of the fodder market that's still good. And, your weekly fluctuations, fodder is usually low on the weekend and then goes up during the week for the first couple of days of the week, is still a good place to trade there. So I wouldn't worry about fodder really at all. But part of your meta market, part of your especially expensive players, like just to shout out a name, the big boy 2-play style plus Johan Cruyff. Some of these players have already started to drop in value. And that's because people who have a lot of coins and coins in these very expensive cards are going to want those coins to buy Team of the Years in the next couple of weeks. And that's probably the part of the market that I would be worried about the most, because it has the potential to drop the most. Cards that are 1 million coins and over, icons, especially in some of those top tier promo cards, just because of people want to get their coins ready for the crazy elite cards that Team of the Year should bring. But for the rest of the market, we talked about the little bro Cruyff in there as well. There should be still some sell-off. The normal, kind of before these marquee promos, before Black Friday, we have a dip for a couple of weeks. We see a crash, and then it rebounds. Before Winter Wildcards, we had a little bit of a dip. And then since Christmas, market's done really well afterwards. Same thing after Black Friday, rises really well after. Team of the Year is sort of the same thing too. Biggest promo of the year. You have some panic and really just people not wanting to buy too many cards because they're worried about what crazy content's going to be coming. But then once it drops, weekend league rewards maybe get boosted up a little bit with the new season, which will kind of be at the middle/end part of Team of the Year. And you just have people with buying power from opening packs, a bunch of store packs as well that brings coins to the game. And then you see some prices rise. So it's kind of like if you go back on the graphs that you see on FUT or wherever, and you look at how the market moved before Black Friday, we kind of expect the same thing with Team of the Year. You'll have a drop with the anticipation of what's to come. And then once the promo actually is here, some cards will go up more than others. But you do have a bit of a rebound after that as people are not scared to buy anymore. But currently we're in the beginning stages of the people are getting scared to hold on to cards because Team of the Year is coming pretty soon. And I do think that's going to make some prices start to slide, not necessarily tank, like in a 2 or 3 day period, a card losing 50% of its value, but just in the next couple of days, starting to see some prices slide as people kind of back away from those cards and wait for Team of the Year.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right on those kind of top level cards, because there's that chance that they then get usurped by Team of the Year cards. There's a potential they rise very quickly if leaks come out that the cards only have 2 playstyle pluses, and suddenly it doesn't feel like those top levels are going to be overtaken by that much. But I definitely agree. If you do have a tradable player that's worth, I don't know, more than like 1 million, which I know I'm talking to about 0.3% of the listenership of the podcast, but it is definitely something to be wary of. Your point about Team of the Weeks, I just wanted to pick up on, because during Winter Wildcards, we obviously had the 82 by 10 that required the Team of the Weeks, but it didn't really move the needle on them too much. They were maybe like flittering between 11.5 and 13,000 coins, something around there. But then we had a week or a few days where there was the 85 by 2 or the 85 by 3 that required Team of the Weeks as well. And the moment we got that, they all went up to 17, 18K. And I think that would be the thing I would keep my eye out for during Team of the Year. The moment you see another, like, even semi-repeatable SBC that is released daily that requires Team of the Weeks, the price is just always going to go up. If you're someone who wants to complete those, there's always the Team of the Week SBC that you can complete yourself, just with the fodder you've got in your club. That's sometimes worth doing, sometimes worth even buying those players over buying Team of the Weeks. You'll have provision packs. We got I think there was one of the advent packs that we were getting in the promo pack section that was, I think 10,000 coins had 2 Team of the Weeks in it, was something like that. So if you see any of those in the build up, it's worth club stocking, I think, with those kinds of things, especially if you're someone who wants to do a real menu grind during Team of the Year. It's probably the time of the year when Team of the Weeks are the most needed, actually.
But yeah. Especially when you think of last year, we had that unlimited 82 by 20 grind, and Team of the Weeks, I believe, were needed in an SBC. But if that happens again, or if some sort of pack grind like that happens again later on during Team of the Year, getting Team of the Week cards for 12,000 coins and less, and then holding on to them is never a bad investment. I mean, I don't know if they're going to ever go to discard unless EA supplies a whole bunch of them and gives a tradable Team of the Week SBC, or completely removes Team of the Week requirements, which I don't see happening. So I think anytime you can get a Team of the Week card for 12K, it's a long-term investment just as much as it could be an investment for the week. If it goes up to 15K during the week, that's decent profit for a couple days hold. If you're wanting to wait until they go to 20, 25K, which will definitely happen at some point during the year, it always does. Team of the Year is not a bad time to chance it on that. So anytime you see Team of the Weeks at 12K is good. Speaking of the pack grind, some of the packs that we have during Winter Wildcards are going to stick around, like the crafting upgrade. That's going to be probably one of the best ways to rinse your gold commons. I know we'll have the premium upgrades and stuff out during Team of the Year, but that crafting upgrade being out for a 78 plus times 3 pack during Team of the Year is really good. Also, winter provisions upgrades and the daily rare golds upgrade packs that we have right now, you can set yourself up to save a ton of coins on the premium league upgrade packs that will definitely drop during Team of the Year by getting those SBCs done each day right now. Because the more rares you can stack up, and of course those packs give you a lot of rares, the more upgrade packs you're going to be able to do, because the league upgrade packs are obviously kind of the main upgrade that we're looking to do during Team of the Year.
So my question, because you mentioned the 82 by 20s, my question is, how many days into Team of the Year before we start seeing when 82 by 20s on Twitter? And do you think we'll get them this year?
It's kind of like exchanges last year. Remember, we were all like, where's the exchanges? Because we had that expectation set in FC24. Yeah, I mean, we don't know if we're going to get the 82 times 20 this year. I would hope that we get something of that regard, because it was just crazy to have it unlimited repeatable and the grind be what it was. Team of the Year was actually a little underwhelming last year until that happened. I do remember thinking about that. So if it were to happen, I think it would be when the full team is in packs during that second week of Team of the Year, probably on like the Monday or Tuesday, because I think that's when it came out last year. We had like 4 days to like grind crazy. And that completely changed Team of the Year for a lot of people. But it wasn't like we had the whole entire promo to do it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to cycle back just a little bit on the team of the weeks, because I agree with you. I think they've always been the safest investment when they're at that minimum price. One thing right now is the team of the week upgrade SBC is 83 plus. If you spot that switch to 84 when it refreshes, buying main league 83 rated team of the weeks is not a bad choice. Like, I've kept all of my tradable team of the weeks, and the 81 and 82 team of the weeks have all got more expensive because they've just been used in SBCs, or they've been put into an evolution and are now not tradable anymore. So they just increase in scarcity. And if you're watching, I'm showing the team of the week prices at the moment, and you can kind of see that, like, there's 𝗵𝘂𝘶 for 82 rated team of the weeks. 𝗵𝘂𝘶 is 13,500 coins. You've then got 𝗵𝘂𝘶 at 15,000 coins and a few others around there. The seventh cheapest 82 rated team of the week is 18,000 coins. So you can see that whilst, like, you can pick up these 86 rated team of the weeks, which aren't a bad investment for 12,750 coins. That seems to be where they are at the moment. Actually, if you are buying because you want to sell and not because you want to use them, really keep an eye out for those 83 rateds, because I think the moment you can't craft them from an SBC, they become worth a lot more because they'll just get more and more rare. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And
Fantastic
then to come back to something you said, which is the winter provisions upgrade for 385 rated. Now, we've seen it a few times happen now where 85s have actually become more expensive than 86 rated cards. Because, why would you look for an 86 rated card if you just need 85s? Do you think that 85s have room to grow in that respect? Because they seem to be fluctuating quite a lot at the moment too.
I think they can. I think maybe the most that 85s got up to since this winter provisions pack has been out was like close to 5K when it was first released, if I'm remembering correctly. But I mean, what are they right now? Like 3.5. I think they could go up to like 4, maybe 4.5 again. I would definitely look to buy those like on the weekend with the weekend league reward supply. It was crazy this past weekend, the first time warp, first week. There were no tradable store packs. So all the fodder just stayed up and there was like no supply. Even weekend league rewards barely moved fodder prices down. And it also made the promo team very expensive and rare because there was no supply for them on the market. But even for the winter provisions packs, it's good that you mentioned 85s being the same price as 86s, because I'd put 86s into this. I think this is important enough of an SBC. If you don't need 86s for doing another player or icon pack that you're working on, or even if you pack, like I was putting the fodder 85 and 86 rated winter wildcards into these winter provisions because they're not really going to have any other use for me than fodder. Like, don't be afraid to put 86s into this from, your 85 by 2s that you do in craft each day, if those come back out, or the 85 plus player picks, if those are bad. Like, that's where I'm putting kind of those leftover players, because it's helping me set up a future where I can do a lot more upgrade packs and hopefully get a whole bunch of fodder as well. So,
yeah, and I think it's worth thinking about that. If your aim is to pack a team of the year, actually 85 and 86 rated cards aren't really going to be useful for anything that's going to help you pack a team of the year. So maybe swapping them out for 25 rare gold players and 15 common gold players isn't the worst idea right now. Maybe keep the 87s and 88s because there might be an SBC that you want to complete, or if, let's say, we get 84 by 10s and you need an 84 rated squad, you can throw in an 87 and then a bunch of 83s and 82s, and then suddenly you're using that kind of low rate fodder that you do grind. You get a lot of that, I think, once you're doing the menu grind, is that the kind of 81 to 83 rated.
Yeah,
I definitely think there's space there for it to be useful. It's here for another 10 days as we're recording. You can do it 4 times a day. It's better value than buying rare gold items. So if you're someone who did buy rare golds during Team of the Year last year, it is worth the investment, I think, right now. Obviously, the only way you can get something higher than 80 rated is if you get a base common gold player in it, which is possible. That is a special card, and then you can get like a Team of the Week or a special card. So yeah, I found that a really interesting SBC because it is effectively an exchange but it just wasn't called that. And I don't think anyone really referred to it in that way, but that is what it is to some extent. The thing that they've done is limit the rating that you can get out of it, because you can only get max 80 golds. It's useful for the league SBCs as well, because you just get a lot of like league SBC fodder. If you've got a really bare club, it is useful doing that too. So yeah, we have got a lot of SBCs that we can stack up. There's a lot of objectives that give you packs that you can now stack up. Mm-hmm. Is there a minimum level of pack before we finish? Is there a minimum level of pack that you're saving?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, because I think part of the thing that helps you stack better packs for Team of the Year right now is actually opening packs, like still doing some of the crafting upgrades and still doing, even some of the opening some of the lower rated packs from objectives just keeps those cards moving in and out of your club, because you're constantly turning in, 80 to 84s into SBCs, especially like an 85x2. If you're going to start saving those, if that SBC comes out again, you need some of that fodder in there. So my level of save versus open is set at like 83 plus. So all of my 83 plus packs, unless it's like an 81x12, there was one of those in the season pass, I'll save that one because it's so big. But a regular 82x2, I'm going to open that, give me some of that low rated fodder, and save everything that is 83 guaranteed and above for Team of the Year. So that's kind of how my pack stash will be growing. It won't grow as fast as somebody who's saving every single pack, but I'll still be able to open some packs along the way and hopefully craft a few more too. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, well, I like the pack stacks. I've started seeing people posting now how many they've got saved up, and I also think that's contributed maybe to the price of Time Warp players as well, because I think no one's really opening packs right now. A lot of people are saving. So good luck, because obviously the next time we'll probably have you on a podcast, we'll be in Team of the Year. Hopefully we'll have all packed blue at that point. Yep. And yeah, thank you very much for coming on the pod, Nate.
Absolutely, Josh. It's been a blast, and I am very excited for Team of the Year. It's going to be, I think, apart from Winter Wildcards and the holidays being the most wonderful time of the year, Team of the Year might be the most wonderful time of the year on this game.
Definitely helps the January blues, doesn't it? It definitely perks up. It's minus 6 degrees Celsius where I live at the moment, so it's pretty chilly. That this is keeping me warm. I'm sure there'll be someone who's like, minus 6 isn't that cold. It's minus 15 where I live. But anyway, where can people find you before we finish?
Yeah, just anywhere social media wise, the FUT Accountant. We're doing the daily YouTube videos, keeping up with the market and keeping up with all the content, of course. And then the streams are almost daily as well on the Twitch and the YouTube and TikTok as well, if you want to check us out there.
Obviously, we're all slaves to the TikTok, aren't we? But thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching, if you're watching. And if you do want to support the podcast, you can join the Patreon. You get an extra podcast every single week. This week will be the gameplay podcast. We alternate every week. And thank you very much for listening and watching. And of course, thank you to those icon patrons:
Dave B, Darren W, Hugh J, Rob W, Josh R, Ralph, Brian, Michael B, Adam R, Make B, Michael H, Rob S, Michael K, Neil P, Jake S, Tom B, Alex M, Damon H, L, James B, Sam K, The Shirt Locker, Lee A, Chris G, Mark M, Dom P, Rob P, Roger D, Waterman, Also Ran, and Juicy. Plus a special thanks to Luke M, Dave B, Hugh J, Tom M, Darren W, and Pato Foot for advice and production assistance. Before I leave you, just one more thing to add though. Ultimate Team is a bit like life really. It has its many ups and downs. If you're having a few more downs than ups in real life in these more difficult times, then please don't feel that you're alone or need to struggle on without taking action. If you go to thecalmzone.net, there's loads of resources, advice, support, or even just a friendly chat for anyone who needs it. If it sounds like it could help you, then head over to thecalmzone.net. And for now, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next podcast.